Can I have some hot coffee, please? Good morning. One of the biggest political issues in BC this year, apart from any election, is the Battle of Lyle Island. And Lyle Island, in case you've forgotten, and its Haida blockades, is part of Tree Farm License 24 on the South Moresbys. And it is now obvious that the Minister of Lands and Forests, Tom Waterland, must be sorely embarrassed by his conflict of interest. Now, to set the stage for you, after the story broke yesterday, Mr. Waterland had a hurried conference with Premier Bennett, and here he is coming out of the Premier's office, and he has something to say to Clem Chappell, who questions him on the conflict of interest.
On your ownership of the shares in Western Pulp Partnership. People are saying it has the appearance of a conflict of interest.
I know that's what people are saying. I bought 2 units of the Western Pulp Partnership on the advice of my accountant a couple of years ago as a way of deferring income tax. It's been on my disclosure as required by law ever since, and I was quite surprised when today people suggested that it was a conflict of interest. So after hearing what the accusations were, I contacted the Premier's office, and he had heard about the same time. And I've asked that Ted Hughes, the Deputy Attorney General, look into the matter to determine if in fact I do have a conflict of interest. I've never considered it as such myself. It was simply a tax deferment scheme.
I do not believe for a moment that the Minister, Mr. Waterland, was influenced by his extremely unwise investment. The facts were not hidden. It's been there for the world to see on his financial disclosure statement since 1983. But the facts simply are that the minister, the man who issues the cutting permits for Moresby or anywhere else, stands to benefit on his $20,000 investment in a convertible tax shelter for Western Pulp. Now, Western Pulp runs the 2 pulp mills at Port Alice and Wood Fibre. And Wood Fibre has been modernized to take advantage of its log supplies from, guess where? The Moresbys. Tree Farm License 24. Perfectly clear. The Minister of Lands and Forests has an investment in Western Pulp, whose financial health depends in part on the decisions made by the Forestry Department as to cutting permits and the storm over cutting on Moresby, South Moresby. Now imagine the complications of the upcoming debate on Lyle Island and Indian land claims if this is not cleared up at once. And for a change, Bob Skelly, the leader of the NDP, is right. Mr. Waterland and Premier Bennett doesn't surely need advice from any Deputy Attorney Generals of his own government for he and Mr. Waterland to do the right thing. And that is that Mr. Waterland cannot remain as Minister of Lands and Forests because of the conflict of interest. And just by the way, if an independent decision or judgment were required, that, with all respect, I must say to the Premier, should be done by a retired Supreme Court judge and not by the Deputy Attorney General. This will keep going for some time, but that's what I think should happen, and I don't think the Premier should have to wait for any opinions from anybody to know what is the proper thing to do, on the old basis that justice must be seen to be done. Well, that's the first thing this morning. Now, a little bit of better news. The IWA and those who cooperated with it have managed to get Lamford Cedar back into production in New Westminster. And that's the mill, you'll remember, which with Sook Forest Products went belly up with massive debts, and with the help of the Critical Injuries Commissioner and the Bank of BC, Critical Industries Commissioner and the Bank of BC, is now back in operation with 40-odd men at work in New Westminster. Also on the program today, we're going to catch up with John Parks, the MLA for Mladwell-Coquitlam, who's going to tell us how many thousand people are trying to get the job of ombudsperson. They'll change it from ombudsman to ombudsperson at any moment. And then seriously on the program, in 2 segments, I'm going to have the Concerned Citizens for Choice and Abortion. One spokesman will be Dr. Robert Makaroff. And the other spokesman for the same group is Ann Thomson. Thank goodness at the end of the program, we're going to have to regard what I regard as a lighter touch. See me? I don't really lose weight because I don't know what I'm doing, but there's a man here to tell me what I'm doing. Dr. Elliot Abravanel, with his body type program for health, fitness, and nutrition. And he'll tell you precisely what kind of horrible creature you are and what you must do to lose weight and keep it off. But off the top, let's go to New Westminster after the break. A year ago, this plant, Lamford Cedar in New Westminster, was surrounded by pickets, as was the partner plant Sook over in Victoria, because the IWA members, because the companies were going bankrupt for $60 million, were scared witless that somehow or other the inventory would be whistled away, sold, given to other creditors, and there would have been no severance pay for the IWA. But the IWA, with some help here and there, moved into action. And here I am today, watching lumber on the first barge load from Sook Forest Products, New Westminster, being brought into Lamford Cedar, where guess who owns and runs the plant? The men working in the plant, members of the IWA Local 1357 in New Westminster. And there were 2 union officials right in the heart of this very delicate storm. One, Terry Smith, 1357 New Westminster, and Roger Lewis of the Victoria Local. Now, I want to see how well you're doing and how your scheme was working and if you're going to make a buck. Tell me, Terry, did you ever think you'd get the rescue package put together and finish up with a good chance of running a profitable operation and owning the mill?
We felt we had a chance, but it was a difficult fight, and we were finally successful.
Just a minute before you go away. I'm going to want to speak.
This fellow here is George, this Jack Webster. George is the oldest employee here, been here for 40 years with the company.
George what?
Pardon?
George what?
McKimmy's my name.
George McKimmy, 40 years here. How long were you off during the bankruptcy proceeding?
2 months. I was a watchman here for 10 months, right?
Did you ever think that you'd be back at work again?
Well, I was hoping so, anyway.
Tell me, where did they get the name Lamford? This used to be Mohawk Handle.
Well, 2 fellas, one was named Lamberson, one was named Ford. And they made Lamford out of it, right?
Now, have you had your first paycheck yet?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Less how much?
25%.
Are you happy about buying your shares?
I think so. I do. I do.
By the way, how old are you?
56.
Gosh, you don't look a day more than 55. Thanks very much. Let's go. What was the actual package that was put? For instance, how much did you pay for the mill?
Well, the total package...
The two mills.
The 2 mills, we paid $1 million for both mills, and that's owed to the TD, which is paid out over a 5-year period.
At what, 7%? No interest?
No interest for the first 18 months, no payments for the first 18 months, 7% interest after that.
I want to whisper this, but tell me I was right. There was about $60 million down the tube for the banks involved, wasn't there?
The bank, when we purchased it for $1 million debt-free, the bank, as I understand it, wrote off in excess of $60 million.
Now, you've got a total package of $14 million, of which some comes from the members themselves.
Well, the members had to borrow $2.5 million in equity, which is borrowed money. The members at today haven't got a cent in the operation, but have to pay back the $2.5 million loan.
When they're working, they pay 25% gross of the wages.
They pay 25% gross, which is a deduction to pay back and purchase the shares in the company. And when the $2.5 million is paid off, and they have paid for their shares, they will own all of the shares in the company.
All the men whom you have been willing to go for this in both plants, here and over at Sook.
Well, we have everybody signed up. We had everybody that worked here previously was given the opportunity. They all had to sign a loan guarantee, and they're all committed to it. and no problems about it. People delighted to be back to work.
Yeah, because otherwise they'd have been on UIC and welfare.
Well, most of them were on welfare, Jack, but that was the choice. The only way they were ever going to get this mill going was by it themselves.
All right, just as we're coming up towards the mill, I want to get the package. First of all, doesn't Art Phillips, the Critical Industries Commissioner, deserve a little pat in the back?
He does. He played a role in cutting a lot of the red tape out and smoothing things out.
Because very briefly, you got $6 million from Kaiser, the Bank of BC, is that your operational
That's
loan?
the operating line.
You got a couple of million loan from BCDC.
Yes.
You put up $2.5 million of your own.
No, the $2 million from BCDC and $500,000 from the credit union was the equity which they had to borrow.
And then you're due to pay TD, the Toronto Dominion Bank, a total of $3 million, one for the purchase and two for the inventory.
Right.
Gosh, I want to speak to your sales manager later, but let's go to the plant.
Okay.
Tell me, Terry, how are things going in your sister operation at Sook?
Well, we were over there at a meeting the other day. It was going very, very well. It went out, started up with very little difficulties. They're adding more equipment next week and probably a second shift very quickly.
They've got to buy logs in the open market.
They are buying logs in the open market.
Which reminds me, you're now in a dual capacity. You're employer and you're the certified union. What demands are you going to make for the contract negotiation?
These people working in here, Jack, will get a minimum of the Coastmaster agreement, the same as every other IWA member.
Good. Now here's a chap here. Your name?
Lonnie Wagner.
Lonnie, what happened during the downtime to you?
Well, I never worked a bit. I was off for about 14 months without work.
And you had lots of money in the bank to keep going?
No, sir. No, sir.
How did you get by?
Oh, my wife is working. She's on a maternity leave, so unemployment just for her. So about
You got-
$900 a month we were getting by on.
900 a month. Many kids you got now? Just the one?
Just one. 2 months old.
Well, you just had enough seniority to get in because the full seniority people came back first, didn't they?
Yes.
So actually your second shift will have suffered more than your first shift.
The second shift will have suffered more. They will be a while, but they'll have been out the longest.
How do you fancy 25% being knocked off your wages?
That's okay for me.
Why is it okay?
Better than nothing.
And also you're buying your shares.
That's right. That's right.
Where are you from?
From New Westminster.
All the best.
Thanks very much. Nice to
And
meet you,
thanks
Jack.
for not saying New Westminster.
Okay.
No, I've always said New Westminster.
That's right.
Hey! This is Mike Garofano. You're the plant chairman.
Yeah.
Tell me, how much harder are you working for yourself than you did for the old owners?
A little harder, a little harder.
Do you feel you're going to be a success?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you live in Westminster?
No, Langley,
How long have you worked in Lamford Cedar?
8 years.
And have you had any grievances with the IWA ownership yet?
What was that?
Any grievances yet as a plant chairman?
No, not yet.
No trouble.
No.
Keep them in line. How's it going here?
Good right now, it seems to be.
Hey?
Yeah, the hopes are really good. Men are pretty pleased to be back.
Hello. What's your name?
Lau.
What?
Lau. How are you? Lau.
You're an old timer here, Lau, are you?
Yeah.
How old a timer are you?
How old? 42 years old.
What did you do during the layoff
Oh, no, not layoff. No layoff.
when closed down?
Oh, the shut down, not the layoff.
Now, shut
Look
up.
that.
What did you do? What did you do?
Oh, I don't know.
You do nothing.
I don't know nothing.
Okay, Lau. Don, this is Don McMillan, isn't it?
Don McMillan. Don is the president of the company.
You're the kind of chief executive officer.
That's right.
Don McMillan of Lamford Cedar, not H.R. McMillan by any chance.
No, not that one.
Don, you're a shareholder too.
Yes, I am.
Now, tell me right down the nitty-gritty, how does it look? You took over the old inventory and you're getting some of the old inventory from Sook until they produce new stuff, right?
They're in production right now. Everything's going very well. We're ahead of budget on most items, and everything's working very, very well.
How about productivity? Is it early yet to tell?
It's a little bit early to tell, but the progress made is well ahead of schedule.
Now, do you operate your own sales staff here, or do you operate through some agency?
We have our own sales staff.
Well, tell me, how about the orders on the books?
Well, we've just gotten started, but the sales pace that we've achieved so far is ahead of plan, and we're doing very well with it. We've already started shipping, and the prices that we're getting are at market, and we're very happy with it.
Well, I gaily talk about Lamford Cedar, but I haven't told anybody what is actually done with your Lamford Cedar. What's it used for, this cedar, specifically? What kind of plant is this, really?
Mainly it's a siding plant. We produce exterior siding for use on the side of houses and buildings and the chief target areas of the United States.
Well, I got to see what this guy is up to. Come on down.
Hi.
How do you say I treat you to a new razor?
Sounds good.
Dennis Watson, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Dennis, what's your title in the yard?
Car loader.
You're the car loader. Now, what's on this car here?
We have a mixture of 1x12 and 1x8 S4S boards.
Is this your first carload to go out?
Yeah.
And where's it going?
Going to Texas.
It's going to Texas for
Going to
sure,
Texas.
is it? How do you like me back to work?
Well, it's great.
Fantastic. What did you do during the long shutdown?
Well, I was more fortunate than others. I worked at a couple plants part-time.
Yeah. Managed to pick up bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, a few weeks at this mill and a few weeks at another one.
Well, you know, a couple of years of good operation here and you suddenly find you're a capitalist and a shareholder in a successful mill.
Well, it's going to have to work out that way. Men have got to start to do a little bit more to get a little more, I think.
Yeah, but they tell me that everyone here is dead keen.
Oh, yeah, everybody thinks it's a great idea. From the office staff down to the end of the chain. It's a good deal.
When you come to your 1000th car, give me a call and I'll come back down and see how you're doing, Dennis.
I most certainly will.
That's part of the story of Lamford Cedar and Sook Forest Products. Sook cuts the cedar logs into whatever, sawmill stuff, comes over here and is processed into the export matter, which is apparently still in very good demand. Total of 250 men could be back at work. There's about 40 here just now, and about, I think, close to 50 over at Sook Forest Products. And if all goes well, it'll be the first really successful example of IWA men with cooperation from various bodies taking over, buying the mill, and making, hopefully, a great success of it. I'll be back after the break. John Parks, MLA, is the chairman of the special committee to choose an ombudsman. Our other ombudsman completed his term and has now vanished somewhere or other, I'm not quite sure which. Tell me, first of all, about choosing the ombudsman. How many people on your committee?
On the central committee, there's 11 members, and we have a 5-person subcommittee who are the individuals who are going through all of the applicants.
Tell me, do you have to have a unanimous nomination?
Yes, Jack. The legislation is very specific, and it's one of the strong points of the BC legislation. The recommendation from our committee to the House must be unanimous, and consequently, you know, there's no fear of feather bedding or political patronage.
It's not likely to be subject to restraint, this job, is it? You're quite firmly committed and you've got money in the budget in these tough times to hire a new ombudsman.
In fact, that office probably showed the least impact of restraint. That office grew constantly. Every year it grew significantly. And I believe the last year the budget was something like $1.8 million.
How many people have applied for the ombudsman job?
As of this past Wednesday, when I was in Victoria, we were about 425.
From where?
Literally from all around this continent, from Yellowknife through Florida, and certainly all across Canada. A tremendous number of applicants from Ontario.
I hope they're not all lawyers.
Jack, you'd be pleased that I can report not that many are lawyers.
Now tell me, is it going to be easy to pick one? Tell me, what are the qualifications for the ombudsman? And you may refresh your memory if necessary.
Well, the real qualification for an ombudsman, in my opinion, is that he or she must have a pretty fair understanding of the British Columbia political system and British Columbia society, and illustrate a tremendous amount of common sense. I think we would look for someone who has a proven ability to work with people. I know it's an often used expression, but a people person, but someone who has proven some managerial capabilities and the ability to be respected by his or her peers.
Because the job of the ombudsman actually is independent of the government.
Totally independent.
Mind you, he can occasionally get into trouble with the government and has to sue them from here to breakfast time, but he is independent. How did he manage to retain his independence? Where did he make his reports to?
He reports to the legislature. He is not a separate ministry or a crown corporation. He is a product of the legislature. As you noted earlier, the legislature must unanimously choose him, And once chosen, he has total independence for the period of 6 years, his term of office. He has total autonomy to hire and fire his staff, set policy.
And he must have, let me do this. It says, many of you out there, we've got how many thousand unemployed in British Columbia? 215.
200 plus.
200 plus, right? How much does this job pay?
$94,000 plus.
5-year contract?
6-year contract.
6-year contract. Is it a pension at the end of it?
I am sure that in the final negotiation for any settlement with a new ombudsman, there will be a pension package incorporated in that.
That's right. 6 years, pension package, subject to good behavior, can be removed only by the legislature, is that right?
That is correct.
And $95,000 basic a year.
Well, the salary, the whole compensation package is tied to that of a BC Supreme Court judge, again wishing to ensure that this position is totally autonomous of the legislature rather than we annually or semi-annually setting his compensation package. It has been pegged to that of a BC Supreme Court judge, which compensation is determined by the federal government.
If you have the following qualifications, don't hesitate to apply. You must have common sense, maturity, fairness, integrity, sound judgment, independence, perseverance, tact, patience, tolerance, understanding of the distinction between natural and legal justice. That's a very important point, isn't it?
Extremely important.
And a high energy level and dedication to the ombudsman role.
Correct.
Now, how many applications did you say it had?
We're over 400 as of Wednesday when I was last in Victoria, and we were receiving somewhere between 40 and 50 a day at that time. Today being the last day for applicants to be forwarded, I expect we're going to get a rush today, and probably next week there'll be a number trickling in.
Mind you, a lot of them you'll be able to skim through. Have you gone through them preliminarily to see how many might be in the cut down?
My subcommittee went through 180 on Wednesday, and we culled out a good number of them. But there is a tremendous number of very
qualified people.
Very qualified people
From all across. Must they be bilingual?
No, they must not be bilingual.
Because, of course, it's the province of the government of British Columbia.
Yes, that's
when
correct.
When will you tell us when you have found the perfect person?
You will hear from the legislature.
So it's not until the legislature sits?
Well, that's correct. We only report to the legislature.
So the legislature presumably will sit sometime when? Sometime in the spring.
I would expect late February.
And you will then be in a position to announce your unanimous choice. What if there is not a unanimous choice? Supposing you can't come to a unanimous choice. Can you do it by majority?
No, it must be unanimous, and I have no problem envisaging that we are going to have a unanimous choice. I have just seen how our subcommittee has worked with respect to the screening process we've already gone through, and I think there's no problem with the 5 of us understanding exactly what we're looking for, and I'm sure we'll have no difficulty coming up with a unanimous choice.
And this is your last day if you want to get an application in to apply for the $95,000 job as ombudsman. It's not an easy job, but it's an essential job. Thanks to John Parks. Next we're going to deal with a concerned committee, what's it called? Concerned Citizens for Choice on Abortion after the break. Abortion is one of these controversial topics that will not go away. I'll tell you quite frankly, I don't happen to like dealing with the topic in any particular detail, but I'm bound to from time to time. And today you're going to hear the CCCA, Concerned Citizens for Choice on Abortion, and one day soon you'll hear the pro-life people who will get precisely the same amount of time. With me this morning is Dr. Robert Makaroff of this Concerned Citizens, a man who's well experienced in this matter, are you not, Dr.
Yes.
Makaroff? And Ann Thomson, who's also part of it. Now, what's this thing you're putting on? What's the need to hold a kind of phony trial on abortion laws in Canada, starting in Vancouver in January 25? What's the need for this attempt for more discussion? Abortion is legal, abortion is carried out all the time, we have thousands of them. What are you worried about now?
Well, I think that brings up the main problem here is that there is a general perception that what you say is true. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to large parts of Canada. In other words, abortion is not freely available to large numbers of women, and in particular women who are most disadvantaged, those who live in rural areas, those who live where hospitals are either staffed by people who are opposed to abortion, and there's no abortion committee, and a number of other things which I think perhaps we can go into in more detail later. But this perception that abortion is easy in Canada is quite false for large numbers of women.
Well, could I put it to you, Ann Thomson, perhaps inaccurately or accurately, that any public-funded hospital has a duty to do abortions because it's a legal matter called for after the appearance of the patient in front of a committee. Is that not right?
Unfortunately, that's not right. There is no obligation on any hospital to either set up the apparatus that makes the approval of abortions possible or to approve abortions even if they do have a therapeutic abortion committee. And many hospitals in BC, publicly funded, do not perform abortions. Particularly outside the Lower Mainland, it's very difficult, in fact, to get an abortion even though it is partially legal.
How many abortions are performed in British Columbia or in the General Hospital, or any specific figures you have in mind you might give me? Because it's probably quite a number.
Well, there's a useful pamphlet. You know, the figures tend to vary, but basically one of the best sources for a quick thing is Facts on Abortion, put out by a non-profit organization.
Don't need the details, I just need the numbers.
All right. In this list here, we have in BC 12,000.
12,000 abortions in British Columbia in what year?
This is in 1982.
1982.
Yeah. And, you know, it's being up and down a little bit, but basically, it's not going to be very different from that.
Well, tell me, it's not so difficult in British Columbia that women have to leave the province to get an abortion, is it?
No, unfortunately, that's not true. Many women do.
Oh, you
And of
mean
course,
it
if
is so difficult that sometimes you have to leave the province?
That's right. In fact, there are clinics down in Bellingham which do a tremendous business from women in BC. Women go down there for a number of reasons. Perhaps they live in a northern BC community and there is no hospital that performs any abortions in their area. Or perhaps they live closer, even in one of the suburbs of Vancouver, and they cannot get approval from the hospital committee within the time limits that would make
What
it
are the
possible
time
for them
limits for
to get an
abortions,
abortion.
please? I've forgotten this. If a woman is pregnant, we'll talk about adults for the moment. If a woman is pregnant, within what time frame must the abortion take place, and what's the procedure now?
That, again, is a matter of opinion. In my opinion, and the opinion
Well,
of...
you've done many of them,
I've
Dr.
done
Makaroff.
many of them, and I've had to face this reality. And the reality is that there too many are done too late. And the reason they're done too late is because of this absurd law. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, the profession should be pointing out that the delays that are involved really justifiably lay them open to malpractice, because to allow abortions that are going to be done to proceed beyond the first trimester, that is the first third of the pregnancy, involves it involves technical situations which greatly increase the risk to the mother.
I mean, the fetus is much more fully formed.
Yes.
How many weeks is it? 12 weeks?
12 weeks.
So therefore you kind of agree with the pro-life that abortions done late are really quite gruesome and horrible.
They are, and the reason they're late is because of the law and because of the pressure of right-wing groups.
Maybe we should have a rule that after the trimester you can't have an abortion.
Well, that's very, the exact time or duration of a pregnancy is sometimes very difficult to determine. I think this begs the whole question, which really has to be faced, and that is, who should have the right to decide this difficult decision? It's a difficult decision whether it's done on the first day or not for most people. And I think we have to recognize that the majority of the people, the majority of women do not decide to have abortions lightly. I think
we're not talking about the ethical considerations this morning, except to say that you do not believe that the fetus has a life of its own until it's delivered. Is that right?
I would say it does not have, it should not be considered a human life. It is not a person in the sense that we think of you and me and Dr. Makaroff.
And you disagree totally and wholeheartedly with the pro-life people that it's a form of genocide and whatnot.
Yes, I do. I disagree with them wholeheartedly.
Now, these judges you set up for your abortion law and trial, do you want women to come forward as witnesses?
That's right. We do have many women who will be coming.
You won't have ordinary women. You'll only have the professional shouters, won't you?
No. We have many ordinary women who are simply living their lives quietly now, but who have had abortions. Most of them, since the law has been changed, most of them legal, but some of them older women who have had illegal abortions.
And you want some changes in the law now?
We want the laws repealed. That's
repealed totally?
That's right.
I guess at this point it really would be useful, I think, to give some context.
Not for the moment. Your aim and ambition is to repeal the law.
So is the medical professions. So is the medical profession.
Entirely the woman's choice.
Let me read to you from August 15th on abortion, CMA policy summary on abortion. Let me just read a few words. Such an elective surgical procedure should be decided upon by the patient and physicians concerned. Ideally, the service should be available to all women on an equitable basis across Canada. That's official CMA policy.
And that's your position too?
So that we're not representing some freak
yeah, one tends to look
at
you as a bit freaky, but in fact you tell me you're not.
I think that is a real misperception, that large numbers of doctors, there's certainly doctors who are opposed to abortion, and I respect their opinion, but...
You merely say they don't have to do them?
They don't have to do them. Neither do women have to have them.
I'll take your calls to the Concerned Citizens for Choice and Abortion, and whether or not you'll appear as a witness. Will you take unsympathetic witnesses at your hearings?
No.
No, you won't.
We won't.
You only want to speak to converted after the break. Dr. Makaroff and Ann Thomson, whatever became, briefly tell me, because I want to take some calls, whatever became of Morgenthaler?
Morgenthaler is still being harassed. After 4 jury acquittals, changing the law as a result of the things that he underwent, including a heart attack from confinement, you know.
They're still after his
They're
skull.
still after him.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'd just like to express the opinion that I'm glad to see that we finally come out of the Dark Ages, and that with any kind of luck we'll stay out of the Dark Ages and allow women the freedom of choice.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank
It certainly seems unfair to me that there are publicly funded hospitals that won't take abortions, especially for women in rural areas.
Well, of course, the answer is not actually, in the long term and ideally, public hospitals either. It's freestanding clinics.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the availability of abortions. I totally disagree from experience on the... Hello?
Yes, carry on.
How easy it is on getting them. I went through an abortion a year and a half ago because I was more or less pushed into it. I had absolutely no problems. I went through 2 doctors, and it took a total of 5 minutes, and that was all. And they said, okay, fine.
At what stage was your abortion done?
I think I was approximately 12 weeks. I was trying to get to the point where I didn't want an abortion, but my boyfriend and my mother was trying to push me into it.
Still your decision?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Go ahead, please.
Morning, Jack. As a clergyman, I had to address this issue at a conference of the church, and I voted pro-abortion. After that, I received several pro-life things, which turned me off. I did a little bit of investigating. There's one hospital in the Lower Mainland, can I name that?
Yeah, sure, if you're right.
Shaughnessy Hospital, and they have a daycare centre, which is really just one big abortion clinic. And they do abortions there, like the last caller said, about 5 minutes. There is no follow-up counselling with the lady.
Not a daycare centre, she means day surgery, don't you?
Yeah, day surgery. It's, in and out the same day.
And has this changed your mind on abortion?
Oh, very much so. There's no follow-up counselling psychologically with the woman who goes through a very traumatic experience. In the case of a married person, there is no permission from the husband needed. The whole thing is just a shambles.
Thank you, sir. Is he correct?
In fact, unfortunately, the restraint budget that we've been operating on in the province over the last few years has led to cutting counselors' jobs. The jobs of women who did counsel abortion patients have been cut so that women who go in for abortions do not get the counseling they need.
But is Shaughnessy as easy to get an abortion as that man said?
Well, it was for her, obviously, but that doesn't hold true. You know, this is an example of what I was saying about perception, which is false about... Now, since that chap called in as a religious person, I would like to direct people to two theologues, both PhDs in theology, who are Catholic and who support the right of women to have abortions.
Fair enough, you've got the pamphlet. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
That's you, ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to direct my question to Ann Thomson. I'd like to know what ordinary citizens can do to get the government to repeal the law.
Well, I think that most importantly, you can do as much as you can possibly do to educate your fellow citizens in the pro-choice point of view, that it is a woman's right to decide on this issue. But another thing that you can do would be to come to the tribunal called Speak Out for Choice, which is being organized on Saturday, January 25th at the United Church at Nelson and Burrard, sponsored by Concerned Citizens for Choice on Abortion. And there we will hear stories of many women who have been affected by this unjust law.
Thank you, ma'am. Have you lined up the witnesses already? Is it all programmed?
Yes, it is. The program is decided.
Go ahead, please.
Ms. Thompson, your opinion is that the fetus is not human. What criteria do you use to decide that?
Well, there's first of all the legal opinion. Under Canadian law, you have to have been born to be a human being. But in addition to that, we feel that any developing human has to be regarded as simply in its potential stages. And when you have an unwanted pregnancy, the only human being that exists is the woman who is pregnant.
Thank you. There's no argument, is there considerable argument about the desirability of therapeutic abortions where there is known to be major damage to the fetus?
No, I don't think there is. In fact, close to 90% of people, Catholics or not, the percentage between Catholics and non-Catholics does not vary significantly on that question.
On legitimate therapeutic abortions for medical reasons.
Right. Now, I really think that this is one of the key issues that's a problem. I recognize that large numbers of genuinely concerned people feel that abortion is morally wrong, and I respect their opinion. By the same token, as an agnostic, or perhaps I should be more direct and say even an atheist, this offends my view. But I think it's important for those people who are genuinely concerned about whether they can consider the possibility of abortion being moral to read people who are Catholics for a Free Choice. Now, they have put out a number of booklets.
Fair enough, but let's get back to the phone calls. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yep.
My name is Sheila, and I'm a 34-year-old woman, and I'm coming to give testimony at the tribunal. And I just want to say I've been meeting with all different women, an 80-year-old, an 18-year-old, and we have all had abortions. And at last I can stand up and say, this is why I feel good about this. I made this decision. It was not an easy decision. I got pregnant in Ireland, and there were no abortions in Ireland. I was desperate. I think I was so desperate that if I didn't have a clinic to go to, I would have killed myself.
Where did you get your abortion?
I got my abortion in England, and when I came to Canada, I went off the pill when I was 30 because I was smoking, and I tried using the diaphragm, and I got pregnant with a diaphragm, and I had to have a second abortion. And that was difficult. And it was a whole different story. I went to the university hospital in Hamilton, and the doctor was lecturing me. And I think this is something that I'm hearing again from meeting with women who are giving testimony. We women are being lectured about our sexuality.
Well, I don't want you to use abortion as a birth control device.
What happens when your birth control fails? Look how little money is being put into birth control research. We women we demand safe birth control, but abortion always has to be a backup. Otherwise, we will turn to the back streets, we will drink hot baths, take bottles of gin, or we will plunge knitting needles into ourselves, and that's the reality. It's a harsh reality.
Thank you, ma'am.
Stories like that remind me of my experience. It's, you know, it's over 10 years, and I've heard this story.
What were your experiences?
My experiences were very much like this, of hearing stories of total lack of consideration for the feelings of people, a total inability to be compassionate about the position that women found themselves for any number of reasons.
You were, in fact, one of the early martyrs for the cause, you would tell me.
I don't like the term martyr. I wasn't a martyr.
You were convicted of abortioning.
Well, yes, that certainly I would not want to go through that again. But,
no.
You know, really, to get back to the point, which is the question of the need for people to have abortions under humane situations.
Mm-hmm.
And these
cases... I can understand that. I covered many of these stories as kid reporters. Slippery elm bark, knitting needles, or other subjects.
Well, let me tell you just one, because I wasn't going to do this, because I felt really this is something that should be done at the meeting. But this is an experience which is typical, and it's perhaps more dramatic because it happened after I was arrested, several months after I was arrested, for my practice up near the university gates. A woman, married, 2 children, her husband attending graduate studies, was found dead from a self-induced abortion. Now, it happens that we know that she knew somebody who knew my wife. And there is no question that had I been practicing, that woman would have heard through the grapevine that I was able to give a safe, humane abortion with counseling, with a long discussion
and
of the moral implications.
And she would have been alive today.
And she would have been alive today. Now, that is just one isolated case. What are we facing when we have the situation, as we do in America, documented so well in the issue of December the 8th of the Time magazine? We've got this problem, too, of our own children being faced with these things. Do we want to go back to that time when these kids, without any common sense, without any help, are going to be put in this position?
Teenage pregnancies we haven't touched at all this morning.
I want to ask the people you're going to have on Monday, ask them, what are they doing to stop unwanted pregnancies? What are they doing about sex education? And I don't think necessarily the school. The school is perhaps the last place that effective education will be given. It needs to be given by people like Planned Parenthood, whom the pro-life, so-called, have very effectively in every province that they can, including my own, which once used to have a progressive government, cut back on the funding for stopping this sort of thing, which makes abortion necessary. Finally, you know, we have to face the fact nobody is going to stop those abortions. They're going to be done, illegally or legally, in large numbers.
Do you tell me that they be done legally, properly, out in the open at the right time?
There's no reason they should, and they should be done early. If women, instead of learning about geometry and men and all sorts of nonsense in school, were taught at first the basic things of health, which has to do as much as anything with sexuality, they would be prepared not to get themselves in this position.
Fair enough. My thanks to you, Dr. Makaroff, and to you, Ann Thomson, and your conference where you're going to put the abortion law on trial with your prepared witnesses. It will be St. Andrews Wesley's United Church, Nelson and Burrard, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, January 25th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm going to move to a lighter topic. I'm always uncomfortable with this topic. After the break. Without buying Elliot Abravanel's body type program, I can tell you how to use weight. It's money for old rope. You eat a properly balanced diet and you get lots of exercise and lead a healthy life and you'll lose weight. Isn't that right, Dr. Abravanel?
The question is, will you keep it off and will you lose it from the places you want to?
Can we make a deal? Can I call you Elliot instead of Abravanel?
Okay.
Okay. And you said, can I keep it off?
Yes, can you keep it off?
No, I can't keep it off.
Okay. That's what the body type program is about.
What's a body type?
A body type is a type of metabolism. Every single person is one of the 4 body types. That means every single person is dominated by one of the 4 major glands in the body, and that has huge effects on how you look, what you crave, what exercise is right for you, what food is right for you, what kind of vitamins you should be taking, your personality structure, and your basic kind of energy. All of that is a reflection of your inborn genetic body type, your dominant gland.
And you discovered this?
Yes.
You're the only person in the world who claims this?
Not anymore.
Oh, they're following you, like everybody followed Pritikin's diets.
Did everybody follow? I don't think so.
All the smart doctors did.
I think the ones who followed Pritikin's diet and did well were people who were of one specific body type, adrenal type.
Forget that. Now, for the moment, I don't want to lose your body types.
Yes.
You send us some drawing of body types, but they're all so perfect you couldn't tell one type from another. What are the 4 types?
Okay, there are 4 major body types. Thyroid type. If you're a T-type, you're basically tall and lanky. You like sweets and starches. You have high cheekbones. You have sparkly eyes. You're a creative person.
Pity we can't get Ann on camera.
Well,
what type
that's
is that?
Thyroid type.
Thyroid type.
Thyroid type.
What am I?
You're adrenal. You're adrenal. You're quite different.
I'm an A-type.
A-type.
Tell me about me.
Okay. A-types are solid, big muscles, square faces, big bones. They like meat and potatoes. When they get fat, they get a kind of a beer belly. Dolly Parton, Ed Asner, Mr. T, those are all adrenal types, as are you. A typical T-type is, say, Bill Murray.
Who's Bill Murray?
He's a comedian. Ghostbusters. Barbara Streisand, Liz Taylor. These are all thyroid types. They're quite different from the adrenal types, and they have a completely different kind of metabolism.
I hate to be stupid. Give me these samples again for an A-type.
Examples?
Yeah.
Mr. T, Teddy Kennedy, Dolly Parton, Jackie Gleason. Those are all adrenal type people.
All right, now give me the T-types again.
T-types, Alan Alda.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Murray, Liz Taylor, Barbara Streisand. Those are all Al Pacino. Those are all T-types.
What other types?
Now, there are 2 more. One, the pituitary type. If you're a pituitary type, you're really quite different. You have a sort of a large head and a very delicate body, quite fine bones. You eat foods that we usually think of as health food, like yogurt and fruit and vegetables. Those are the things that stimulate your pituitary gland, and you eat them to get stimulated.
Okay, give me examples of these people with big heads and skinny bodies who are pituitary.
Michael Jackson, Fred Astaire, Nancy Reagan, chubby ones. Truman Capote. They get pudgy like the Pillsbury Doughboy when they get fat. They lose their outline completely. And they're usually quite smart. Albert Einstein. Dan Aykroyd, another comedian from Ghostbusters. Typical pituitary type. They're roly-poly when they're fat, and they're phenomenally well coordinated when they're thin, like Fred Astaire and like Michael Jackson.
That's 3 types. There's one more.
Okay, we've mentioned 3 types. Those 3 types exist in men and women both. The last type is just women. Just women. And this is what we call a G, or gonadal type. This is a person whose dominant gland is the ovaries. Men don't have ovaries, it's only women. If you're a G type, you're like 2 different people. You're small above the waist, small bust, small shoulders. You wear something you can see your ribs. Little nipped-in waist. All of the weight goes on below your waist. You get a big tush, it sticks out in the back, saddlebags. You like greasy, spicy food. If you're fairly thin, you might look like Goldie Hawn, who's quite small on top and big derriere. If you're a little heavier and still sort of round, you might look like Sybil Shepherd. Rosalind Carter is another example. So those are G-type women. And they're very earthy, they're very attractive, they can be very sexy, but they're also very maternal. They're phenomenal team workers, and they like sort of, this sort of taco, French onion dip type of food. These are ovarian congestors. They stimulate your ovaries, and they cause your body to put on weight a certain way. And it's because people eat foods that stimulate their dominant gland and put on weight and overstimulate their dominant gland that they put on weight in specific areas.
It's a form of glandular predestination.
It's glandular genetics, but it's not necessarily predestined, because you can change the influence by changing what you put into your system.
Yeah, but if you follow your natural bent, you'll be glandularly predestined. However, what's Shirley MacLaine?
Shirley MacLaine's a G-type also.
Thought so. Big derriere.
Big tush, and, great dancer. Typically G-types are great with their legs. They're great skaters. Ty Babylonia. Those are all G-types. And they tend to like to do exercise that use their legs. Ballet dancers are largely G-types.
Now, we're going to go to the diets, but I'm fascinated to know how you really discovered this and what kind of success you can prove with the damn thing.
I discovered it by watching my patients and having problems.
Well, what kind of doctor are you?
I'm in family practice in Beverly Hills, and I've been practicing family practice for a long time and doing a lot of weight control.
Perfect place to start this kind of thing, isn't it? You can, because
there's a lot of need, and people are very attentive to their weight because it's important to them. But what I would find is that people would lose weight on a diet maybe, and maybe their best friends wouldn't do well. They'd lose weight or gain it back or something. 2 people on the identical diet would not do equally well. Now, obviously, if the diet was perfect, they should do equally well.
You may have the answer. You see, I'm a great enthusiast for these kind of things, so I want you to be very selfish and tell me, as an A type, I'm adrenal, right? What do I do? I've lost 30 pounds in printing, and I've put on about 12 or 13 of that pounds again because I've been lax, I've been sloppy.
Every body type has to stop overstimulating their dominant gland. Adrenal types stimulate their dominant gland with alcohol, salt, meat. Those are adrenal stimulants.
Well, I'm not drinking, and I've stopped taking salt.
Good.
And I don't take too much meat.
So that's the good start. And what they have to do is start stimulating the underused glands, pituitary, thyroid. That means eat foods that stimulate them. Yogurt, fruit, even sugar is not bad for an adrenal type.
Oh, sugar, that's evil. That's the white death.
No, it isn't
That's
the white death. It's the white death for certain types. And those types are basically thyroid and pituitary. If you're adrenal, it's not that bad. In fact, it helps your body balance itself. Basically, what you're doing is you're tuning your body, knowing what you should be putting into it. If you know that one of your glands is really overworked, you let it rest. If you know that some of your glands are underworked, you bring them up. Foods are not equal. Proteins are not equal. Foods influence your body in tremendous ways.
What about my porridge? What about my 5-grain cereal?
That's fine. Complex carbohydrates are good for you. Milk products are good for you.
Milk?
Milk products like yogurt and skim milk.
Yeah. Skim milk?
Yeah, not fat milk. No. We're trying to keep your cholesterol down.
And I can do this without exercise?
No, we haven't gotten to exercise yet.
We'll get to exercise and we'll get to your phone calls. I like this guy. He's probably right. I don't know. How much is his book?
$5.50 Canadian, I think.
$5.50 Canadian. That's the pocketbook. Dr. Elliot Abravanel will tell you what you can do to avoid your glandular defects after the break. Doctor, you tell me to stay away from meat, salt, and alcohol.
Right.
Potatoes.
No.
And you want me to I eat lots of yogurt, 1.75% fat. I eat bananas by the cluster. And I eat heavy bread. Now, I have a problem, doctor, and I want to consult you about it. For 25 years, I don't sleep well. I sleep, but I awaken often. And I have a dangerous tendency, which my family laughs at, of sleepwalking and eating. How do I beat that?
What do you eat at night?
Whatever's around, mostly bread and cheese.
Mostly cheese, too?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, here's what you're doing. You get wound up during the day, and typically adrenal types, right, adrenal types don't sleep much anyway. Of the types, they need the least sleep, around 5 hours on the average. I mean, when they're really energetic. But your body is calling for more, so you're eating things that quiet your brain down. Sugar and calcium both quiet your brain down. Sugar does it by releasing tryptophan in your brain. It's like taking the amino acid tryptophan. That creates serotonin, calms your brain down. The calcium does the same thing by reducing the frequency of firing and ease of firing of your brain. What you should do is just take some tryptophan at bedtime.
Tryptophan?
Yeah.
Is that the prescription drug?
No, it's an amino acid you buy in the health food store.
I won't get hooked on it. Tryptophan. Jeanette, get me some tryptophan.
But this is common in a lot of adrenal types who don't need a lot of sleep, wake up thinking that they should be sleeping more, and so try to do whatever it takes to get back to sleep. They don't actually need the sleep.
How quickly will I lose the weight?
Okay, the average person will lose about 4% of their body weight in the first week, and then 2 to 2.5% in succeeding weeks. 150-pound person would lose 6 pounds in the first week, and
I might lose
3.5%.
8 pounds.
Might.
Tell me, yogurt, fruit, what else? Salads?
I mean, the main thing we're trying to do is rebalance you, because that way you will use all the best parts of your physiology. Right now, you're overusing one of your glands. You're overusing it, and your body is still slightly out of balance. What you should be doing is using all your glands at once. That means putting into your system those things which create balance in your system.
Well, before I go to the phones, which I'll do in a moment, I see in your book you've got acupuncture pressure points to calm oneself. What is that nonsense?
Let me get to that in a second, can I? Because it's relevant to the long weekend of rejuvenation.
It's your program.
But the thing is, everything influences your body and everything influences your glandular balance. Exercises are not equal. For example, You know, pumping iron and jogging are not the same. They affect your glands differently. So the right diet for each body type, the right exercise program for each body type will differ. Same goes for vitamins and minerals. The different vitamins and minerals influence your bodily aging processes and your glandular balance differently. So the right balance of vitamins and minerals, exercise, diet are different for each type. Unless you know your type, you don't know
What
what
kind
to
of
do.
exercise for the adrenal, the A-type?
You should jog. You should jog and do things that increase your flexibility, like...
I play racquetball.
That's,
What do you mean?
actually, that's okay. That's okay. Wrong. I was wrong for a second.
Jog is so dull. Jogging is so dull. It's for stupid people.
Jogging is very good for cardiovascular fitness, and racquetball is good for hand-eye coordination, which is good for
Yeah, but
A-types.
jogging's for people who are pretty dull. Don't you
I
agree?
don't know. I know.
You jog?
The jogging isn't good for T-types. They have to do other things. But adrenal types should jog. Alternate it 3 times a week with racquetball.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I have a problem that's probably glandular. I can't seem to gain weight, and I can't see any diet books that tell me how to, short of eating protein powder all the time.
Does your book help?
Average person who can't gain weight is a thyroid type, as he probably is, and you should follow the thyroid diet that will stimulate your adrenal glands and you'll bulk up. Your problem is that you're not bulky enough, and that's what you're worried about. Follow the thyroid type diet. You'll eat eggs for breakfast, and that will stimulate your adrenal glands. Don't worry about cholesterol. Thyroids don't get cholesterol problems. Then your body will be more responsive to putting on muscular weight, and you'll feel better.
Good.
Do the vitamins too. We'll help you with that.
Now, I mean, people go crazy on vitamins, and most of them finish up in the sewer system. Billions wasted in vitamins.
But they go through your system before they get in there, and while they're doing that, they have huge effect. Eventually, you will excrete them, but it doesn't reduce the reality of their having a good effect on your system
But
while they're
most
in there.
people overtake them.
I don't know. I don't know what they overtake. They
Have
all
you
seem to be...
any shares in vitamin companies?
No, I'm afraid not.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
I've been on your diet, doctor, and
great.
I gave up in disgust.
Oh, no.
I don't know what I was doing wrong.
I can tell you...
I figured I was a T-type.
A which?
A T-type.
Uh-huh.
I'm 5 feet tall. Right now I weigh 130. No waist, large tummy, no derriere to speak of, thin arms and legs.
And
you are probably an adrenal type, actually, and you should definitely do the body type questionnaire. There's a
Well, I did, and this is why I came up
Well,
with the T-type.
take a listen for a second.
sorry.
You should definitely do the body type questionnaire with somebody who knows you well, because the average person does not see himself or herself objectively. And so you look in the mirror and you say, I have a big derriere, and you don't. You know, or you look in the mirror and you say, I'm really very busty, you know, and you're not. And you need somebody to tell you, you know, darling, I mean, you've been eating cookies all day. What do you mean you're a salt freak, you know? So you really have to have somebody go over it with you, because we do not see ourselves objectively. We see ourselves ideally.
Well, I did the questionnaire in the book, and I'm undoubtedly an A-type.
Yeah, it'd be undeniable with you, but some people really, you know, they're not sure and they don't see themselves.
Do the questionnaire again.
You will turn out adrenal, I'm
You
positive. I can tell by your voice.
Silly T-type. Okay. More questions to Elliot Abravanel and his body type program after the break.
For the complete evening? To start, how about exquisite French flambé at La Lorraine, or renowned classic Italian cuisine at La Rustica? The choice is yours, and afterwards relax in the all-new European Lounge, an elegant common room with dancing and taste-teasing appetizers created expressly for your enjoyment. It's all new, all for you, 7 days a week. So reserve an evening now at La Lorraine or La Rustica, and don't plan to hurry home after dinner.
At the Burnaby Auto Auction, prices are so low, even the dealers buy here.
25, we're going to bid down 1650. Sold 1625.
Every Saturday at 11 a.m., approximately 100 vehicles go on the block. Choose from all makes, all wholesale, insurance and available. All action indoors for your comfort. Forget those newspapers. For the best deal, come to Burnaby Auto Auction, Marine Way, at the largest auto auction by volume in BC. See you Saturday.
Now always dreamed of at the price you've dreamed of during Western Cat.
No, I've been doing that been waiting up for 25 years since I burned a house down once. Body type program, Elliot Abravanel. He's good fun. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but you listen to him, make up your own mind. Go ahead, please.
Hi, my mind's made up, but I have 2 questions for a G-type. I am also a hypoglycemic. The breakfast with 1 piece of fruit and tea, I just don't think I can manage on that. There's no complex carbohydrate, there's no protein in that.
Are you finding that you're actually getting low blood sugar on fruit? Because you shouldn't be. The fructose will not trigger your hypoglycemia.
Well, I have been told by a nutritionist that I should never have just fruit as my first meal.
That's a mistaken understanding about how fruit works, and it will not trigger your hypoglycemia.
So I can go ahead. Now,
yeah.
What about this 4 hours and 5 hours between meals? I've also been instructed to eat small portions every 3 hours. What I'm saying is I like the book, I like the idea, and I am a typical G-type. I want to try it. But because of all the instruction I've had before this, you know, it's a little different, and I'm a little nervous to even get started.
Well, you know, you can always... The thing is, if you are a G-type in fact, then you will not have difficulty with the body type program, because the body type program will not allow you to slip into hypoglycemia. It will not trigger the hypoglycemic up and downs that you would ordinarily get from eating sugar or going for extremely long times without food. The average hypoglycemic does very well in the body type program.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's good to know.
And
Now, one
we've had
final
hundreds.
question on
Yes.
the G-type.
And do the exercises and take the vitamins. It will help you tremendously.
I'm going to ask you about exercise. I also have a back injury, and I swim almost every day. Will swimming do in place of the other things you recommend?
Swimming is acceptable for you because it helps build your upper body, which is really good. Basically, what the G-types have to do, because they're unbalanced, upper and lower.
Oh, yeah, I've got a lovely small waist and, you know, an
and the
hourglass
usual
figure
tush.
with all the sand in the bottom.
Yeah. And well, we want to turn it over a little bit is actually what our purpose is. So the swimming will help you because it will build your upper body. And don't emphasize things that use your lower body, even though you think it's going to help with your cellulite.
Thanks, my love. We've got to go.
Don't skate or, you know.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. I've been on your diet since the 2nd of January, and when I took the test, I was almost split in half between a G and a T type. Looking at the first 3 chapters, my features are definitely T. I've got 2 questions now. The doctor has me on thyroid pills. What would that do with the diet? And secondly, why raspberry tea?
Oh, okay, here we go. Which book did you buy? The Body Type Program or Body Type Diet?
The Body Type Diet and Lifetime Nutrition.
Okay. The Body Type Program, the new book, has a lot more information about vitamins, minerals, exercise. That will help you a lot more in keeping your balance. You're obviously a T-type from your voice. So I don't know who you did the test with, but you're a T-type, and follow the T-type program.
Okay, well, all right, but what about the thyroid pills then?
Oh, they won't affect it at all. That's just an indication that your thyroid's been really overworked, and you may actually need less thyroid after a while, after you've been on the program, because
Thank you. Go ahead.
Your cells aren't responding. Go ahead.
Kamloops.
Good morning, Mr. Webster and Dr. Abravanel. I want to take this opportunity to compliment Dr. Abravanel and his wife on the excellent diet book. My wife has been on your diet since last April. My wife is a gonadal type. She's been on thyroid for years, and she's also hypoglycemic. She's never been able to find a diet that she didn't go into the low blood sugar spells in the past. And this is the first diet she's ever had that she hasn't had any problems.
How much has she lost?
35 pounds.
She's down to 200 now, is she?
Pardon me?
She's down to 200.
Let's put it this way, Mr. Webster. She's smaller than you are now.
Well, that gives her a couple of pounds to spare.
I'm also following the diet.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excellent, although I'm having a hell of a time doing without the red meat every day.
Take the vitamins and minerals and do the exercise. That will really help you a lot. You have to do
I'll
aerobics
hang
and
up
jogging.
and listen to your reply.
Thank you very much.
But that answers the question of that other lady who called earlier about
Give it again.
hypoglycemia. What?
Do the diet, take the exercise.
Do the vitamins. But the other lady who called, who was a G-type and was worried about her hypoglycemia, here's an example of somebody who followed it and felt good.
Go ahead, please, from Prince George.
Hi. I was wondering if you could give us a few of the symptoms to know what type of glandular person you are.
Got to buy the book.
let me give you a general idea, though, because it's very interesting. The thing is, you're born with your body type. That means you're born with a dominant gland. You inherit it like your eye color from somebody in your family. And that dominant gland affects everything about you. It affects how your body looks. It affects where you put your fat on. It affects how your body is shaped, how your teeth look, how your head is shaped, how your eyes are set, everything. Because this starts when you're just, when you're being developed in the womb.
Thank you. I'd like to compliment you on the fact that there is a doctor out there who is, willing to cure the body from the inside out.
Absolutely. It's the only way. Otherwise, you don't get a cure. All you get is a quick fix, superficial, you bounce right back. What's the point?
Thank you very much. More with Dr. Abravanel on this body type program after the break. Put a bowl of peanuts down in front of me, and unless somebody takes them away, I'll eat every peanut. But that's not supposed to be my kind of food, is it?
Yes, it is. I mean, you're not supposed to eat it, but that's typically what adrenal types crave. The thing is, everybody craves what stimulates their dominant gland. I mean, the average person, let's say you're overweight, and it's 4 in the afternoon, and you want to eat something. Why do you want to eat? You're overweight already. You have the fuel on board to burn. You're eating because you're tired. You're tired. Your dominant gland has gotten fatigued, and you want to take something in that will stimulate that dominant gland. If you're an adrenal type, that's salt or cholesterol. A lot of adrenal types go out and have like a hamburger and fries with a lot of salt on it. Why? They don't need the calories. They do it to stimulate the dominant gland. Yeah. Little by little, you get more and more tired. You need more food more frequently to get that stimulation, and you get fatter and fatter.
You're so depressing. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I'm sure that I'm a G-type, and I was wondering what foods are G-types supposed to eat, and will I become more proportioned by doing so, and what exercise?
No, you'll always have a big derriere.
Yeah, thanks then.
But you'll become more proportioned. The thing is, G-types are overstimulating their ovaries, and they're putting on weight in the characteristic way. Your body collects poisons or toxins that it wants to store somewhere, but being intelligent stores them in certain places. If one gland is overloaded, it'll store it in one place. In the G-type, it's the saddlebags and the derriere. In adrenal types, it's in the sort of pot belly and maybe across the back. In thyroid types, in that little jelly roll. Each body type, in pituitaries, it's sort of all over underneath the skin. Each body type stores the toxins according to the nature of the toxins, and that usually is a reflection of the gland. Now, the way we get rid of cellulite is not to just like pump our legs and work on our lower body, because that actually makes it worse, but to eat and exercise that will cause balance. Now, in your case, if you follow the G-type program, if you eat fruit, practically a vegetarian diet is ideal for you. If you do the exercises, more of using your upper body and not constantly stimulating your lower body, you'll not only have more proportion, but your energy will be better, you'll feel more solid, you'll be more creative, because your whole physiology will be more balanced.
The only trouble is you got to buy the book. You can't sell it. I mean, you can't explain this in detail because you got to buy the bleeding book.
Oh, I'm going to.
Buy the pocketbook. Don't go for the hardcover.
Okay.
But the thing is, people really are different. We are not the same as our neighbor.
You're a little spaced out in some ways, so I've got to tell you.
Am I? Oh.
Yes.
I don't think so.
The pressure points. What am I supposed to do?
Oh, yes, we're back to
that.
Now, there's a part in the body type program called the Long Weekend of Rejuvenation, and this is a way of using diet, exercise, meditation, acupressure, herbs, vitamins to raise your level of integration. A huge, giant step. You take 3 days off, you go away, and you do all this program.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
You're pushing on L14, but we'll get back to that. At any rate, the acupressure. There's some really interesting new studies out of Beijing and Shanghai lately about the effects of acupressure on hormonal balance. And I wasn't going to include acupressure because it's a little out, but the fact that the studies are so good made me include them. These stimulation points and calming points for the various glandular balance points improve the balance of your metabolism.
If I want to stimulate myself to be in a hyperactive mood at 8 in the morning, where do I push myself?
No, that you wouldn't want to do that because that creates imbalance. You would try to create balance, and that's what the acupressure points are for.
Oh. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
I would just like to say that I read your book and I lost 22 pounds.
Hey.
And you read the diet book. Yeah.
Well, it's a great diet. I'm a thyroid type.
Uh-huh. How you feeling?
Oh, I feel great.
Good.
But I gained some more weight. But that doesn't stop me. I'll just go back to your book.
The thing is, once you know your type, you know what to eat, what to avoid. You know your type. You know your basic problem. You know why you're slipping and what's going on and how to correct it. Now, if you buy the new book, the Body Type Program, you'll see which vitamins to take and which exercise to do. It'll help you really a lot more. It'll be a lot easier to maintain.
Surely to goodness, if you eat a properly balanced diet, you don't need...
But balance is different for different types. Properly balanced
Well, a proper
means
diet for different types, you don't need to go and buy
Well,
but
I
you need
think
to
it's
know what
great.
your type is.
Thank you.
I don't agree with that. I've done a lot of studies. I originally wasn't really a big booster of vitamins, but I've done a lot of studies on their effect.
How old are you now, Doc?
44.
Just a boy. Married?
Yes.
Sycamus.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning.
Listen, I've got exactly the same problem you've got. I don't sleep at night, and I need that same prescription the doc gave you earlier in the show.
Tryptophan.
Buy some tryptophan. The main thing you should really do is follow your body type program, because if your body's in balance, you will find that the brain rhythms are a lot better, and you will not have this trouble with insomnia.
Thank you.
If tryptophan makes me sleep throughout the night, I shall personally come down to Los Angeles and give you a solid gold award of some description.
Thank you.
Because nobody's ever been able to get me to sleep through the night. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I was just wondering how the doctor felt about artificial sweeteners.
Artificial sweeteners. Oh, we're out of time. Oh, gotta go. Dr. Abravanel, you've been a gem. The book is $5.50, Abravanel's Body Type Program. Seems to work for a lot of people, and he certainly is very good fun and value for the money I paid him, which is nothing. And I'll be back after the break.
Thank you so much.
On January 31, we're going to do a special Webster forum on the topic of euthanasia, the right to live, the right to die. We're looking for an informed audience. If you want to be part of it, or if you've thought about the topic and want to be here on January 31, call now to 420-3336 or 420-6664. It's a Webster Walkabout Forum, which we've done before. January 31, and there are the numbers. Now, that's 420-3336, 420-6444, which is long distance. Monday, Stephen Rogers, Energy Minister and a Sovietologist from the Rand Corporation at 9 a.m. precisely.
Expo 86. 105 days to go.
BC's Energy Minister, Stephen Rogers, 9 a.m. No, I'm after. It's Monday, 9 a.m. precisely. Sorry. Stephen Rogers, BC's Energy Minister, Monday, 9 a.m. precisely. The Geneva arms talks are on again. I'm going to speak to an expert Sovietologist from the Rand Corporation. You might find it good. Monday, 9 a.m. precisely.